Upon launching my project of 100 active YouTube channels, I promised I would bring back comments on comments, and so here we are. But I don't want to do it as a full podcast like I was doing before. That was a little bit crazy. What I do want is for you to submit comments to me. Send me horrendously bad comments for me to make fun of, and I'll make videos about each individual one, maybe pair some up if I think that they are funny together. I'm going to start this revival with some comments about me from a place that just generates the worst comments in the world. But from this point forward, I'm not looking for comments about myself. This is just to revive the channel, and then y'all can send me whatever comments you think I need to make fun of. Consider this like a template establisher. Now, if you've never heard of Kiwi Farms, let me describe it to you this way. Normal people, when they think something is cringy or they want to make fun of something for sucking, what they do is they go to their friends and they say, look at this fucking thing. Look at this idiot. Look at this, look at this moron. Look at this funny thing they said. And you have a laugh with your friends about that thing. Well, what if you don't have any friends, or if your friends don't give a shit about the thing you're making fun of? Well, then you do what I'm doing right now. You go to the internet. You try to find other people who might give a shit about this thing you're making fun of, and especially if you're doing it for profit, maybe you're thinking, a lot of people care about this thing. A lot of people saw this fuck up. I'm going to talk about it with a large group of people. Now, ordinarily, you would do this in a place with like high visibility or where other people who care about that thing can be found. But Kiwi Farms is where people go when they are too cowardly to like leave a comment on a thing or to make a YouTube video about it or to make some kind of public spectacle. They go off into this little secluded community, but it's still completely publicly viewable. So it's only as secluded as in as much as everybody who posts there is a piece of shit and nobody else wants to see it. But they get together in this little group and they complain about stuff from the weirdest perspective that I've ever seen. Because in my thread in particular, what I've observed is that the people who complain about me aren't paying attention to me. What they are doing is catching little glimpses and then expanding in their brain, using their own imagination, on what is going on beyond that. And a lot of the time, if they were paying even a little bit of real attention, they would understand what's really going on. But instead, they catch a glimpse, they come over to Kiwi Farms, and then they imagineer a new world based on what they've seen. So if you want a perfect example of that, this comment here, I'm going to respond to all three of these, but mostly the ones on the top and the bottom. The first one here from Nick Ober. So this comment says, back when I used to follow Digi. Now, they all call me Digi on here because Kiwi Farms is fundamentally transphobic. They do not like the idea of trans people. They will do anything to try to be mean about transness. So they think that calling me Digi is like some big insult to me. So they're like, yeah, we're gonna call her Digi and use he, him pronouns because fuck trans people. It's really funny because most of these people like met me as Digi in the sense that like that's how they first found out about me, but it wasn't always my name. It hasn't been my name for like 6 years. It's not my real name, but they're very insistent on using this name because that's the one they remember. And I guess, conservatism is preserving whatever you think things used to be like. So anyways, this post goes, back when I used to follow Digi, I'd sometime post comments on his videos. In the years since his downfall, which I don't know when he's talking about, I don't know when is considered the downfall. Probably when I transitioned is when these people think is my downfall. In the years since his downfall, every once in a while, I get a notification that he liked one of my comments. In recent days, I've received several of those. I'm sure it has nothing to do with me, but rather that he's been going through comments of his old videos giving likes. That part is accurate. But then, here's the elaboration. He's reliving his glory days by watching his old work and reacting to comments from when people still cared about him. And then he quotes Metallica, like a faded prima donna, fortune, fame, mirror vein, gone insane, but the memory remains. Now, If he had been paying any attention to my channel, he would know, as most of you probably do, that I have for like 4 months now been on a quest to hit like on every old comment that doesn't already have a like on it. Here's what that looks like. When I go into the community tab on YouTube, as you can see right here, it automatically shows me comments that I haven't responded to yet. And hitting heart is considered a response to a comment. And so every time I open this page, it shows me every comment that I haven't hit heart on or texted, an actual reply to. So what I do is I go down and without reading, without even really looking, I just hit heart on every single different avatar that I see. Because I'm not checking to see if, you made multiple comments and I hit like on a bunch of them, but like, see how this is a J and this is a J, pretty sure that's the same person. So I skip over it because the point is just to give them a notification. All this is about is you getting a notification from my channel, because the little bell will light up and it'll say, Trixie the Golden Witch liked one of your comments. And every couple of days, somebody comes onto the new videos and says, oh, I noticed you liked one of my old comments from 6 years ago. And I go, yeah, it's an advertising campaign. I learned this from my husband being a car salesman, because he has to follow up on e-leads, where basically anytime anybody clicks on the website for the dealership, their information gets logged, and then they send you a text basically every day from that point forward. Like, you will never stop getting notifications from the dealership until you either buy a car or tell them to stop. So this is just a methodology. I'm literally not reading them. I scroll through until I get bored, and then I'm done. And typically, I just knock out like the page that is there. Like, I open it up, I just do the page, and that's that. Sometimes I won't do it for a couple days, but I get real tired of seeing the same thumbnail over here on the side. Oh, you can't see the thumbnails over there. Like, I get tired of seeing this thumbnail, so I'll be like, all right, let me hit hard on a bunch of videos until that thumbnail is gone, because they're mostly in order. Like, right now it's sorted by most relevant, but if I sort it by newest, now they're in order, right? But the newest is still 6 years ago. So I just bam, 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 bam. And then if I click this X, it deletes that filter. So now I'm seeing the actual newest comments, right? So here's a brand new comment on the asterisk score sucks. And I actually read the new comments before I like and heart them. But I'm not reading the old comments. I'm just liking and hearting them. So this guy, this Nick Ober, has completely fictionalized in his mind a reasoning for why I must be liking his old comments, which is that I'm living the glory days, which is funny. It's a funny idea. Like, it would be funny if that was the case. Like, if I was just rewatching old content and being all like, oh, I miss when people cared about me. But the reality is, I still get comments all the time, and they're usually a lot better than the old comments. Like, when I actually do sometimes stop and read some of the old comments, they're from a different era of the internet that I think is a worse era of the internet. Back when people didn't act like you would ever read the comments. Nowadays, the comments I get assume I will see them. And so they communicate with me like an actual person who they expect, to get a reply from. And it's a lot nicer reading the new comments. But yeah, for the most part, I just scroll through, hit like on a bunch of them, and then move on. So that's fine. This guy's an idiot. But the response to him, this is the one I really wanted to go in on. From Tetsuya Nomura, the character designer of Final Fantasy VII and creator of the Kingdom Hearts franchise, who for some reason has Clemps as a goat fucker as their I don't know what Clemps did to deserve this. I don't know why this guy has it out for Clemps like that, but okay, whatever. Clemps is another YouTuber who's like not even active anymore. But anyway, so he starts off replying to just the part that Nick Ober made up, Fucking hell, that's genuinely depressing. I mean, it would be if it was true, but you have no reason to think that's true. Nobody has any reason to believe that what that guy surmised was factual. But this guy is depressed about someone else's made-up story at this point, which is genuinely depressing. So then he goes on, and I'm going to read this whole comment before I respond to it bit by bit, just so we can get through the whole point. I rewatched and posted it here, his 2019 video about why being a YouTuber sucked. It's unlisted. I wonder how he'd react if I commented saying he unironically looked happier there, snowed in at a giant house with his friends and facing backlash for... With my friends, okay. And facing backlash for anime opinions while hating his life than he is now, pretending to be the wife who left him. Because even at his worst then, he had friends, a wife, a stable enough job, a thriving Patreon, and his biggest worries were that he wanted to push the boundaries creatively but also had to make money. That's a damn good problem to have. Part of me genuinely connected and empathized with him in that video, and it's the most human he's ever been on camera. He dropped that edgy persona and had the balls and stupidity to pour his heart out on the net, knowing people would use it against him, but he had insight. Now he just seems emaciated, strung out, and takes it up the ass, while his only successful thing in life, his YouTube channel, is dead. It's genuinely sad to think that this dude had a group of friends in the Procrastinators podcast guys, the Plebe and the Weeb series with Endless Jess, hundreds of thousands of fans online, a house of his own, a wife, and somehow managed to fall in with Ethan Ralph and lose everything that was stable in his life, his wife, his friends, his audience, his livelihood. I've heard Jess is the same, sounding incoherent in Patreon-only content, but nothing like this. Digi had all the potential in the world, and he fucked it all up by going down the gender ideology rabbit hole and smoking weed until he sparked some sort of psychosis that persuaded him to start LARPing as a chick. And he did it in less than 7 years. The dude ruined his entire life and everything positive about it in about half a decade. Now he sits and reads comments from before he fucked up. Question is whether detruning, growing the beard back, and donning the shades would even get a fraction of his audience back, but I'm sure he thinks he's happy now. Oh my god, thinking you're happy, that's... That's a really funny way to put that. If he was, though, he wouldn't be reading old comments for a dopamine hit. What a sad tale. Just 6 to 7 years ago, he was just a disenfranchised dude. Now he's a literal horror story. Okay, so let's go through this and unpack it. First, the video he's talking about from early 2019 was in a period where I was making the worst decisions of my entire life. I made some real huge mistakes at the end of 2018 and the start of 2019. For one thing, I got addicted to weed, and I started spending preposterous amounts of money on weed at the end of 2018 and going into 2019. And so that would be a problem for a long time to come. I've been quit since January of this year, and I am very happy I quit weed. Not only because of how much money it saved me, but because my lungs work better, my voice works better. I am not literally wasting time smoking all the time. I would smoke so often that it took a lot of my day. I was coughing constantly. I felt like I was annoying to be around because of the smoking. You know, people always had to make time for me to go smoke. I never wanted to go anywhere without smoking first. It was just a whole fucking problem. That started in my previous relationship. My previous partner, before the one I've been with now for going on 6 years. That previous relationship lasted, I think, 4 years. So in that previous relationship, early on, I started smoking with my partner to cope with the fact that I had no idea what I was doing in that relationship. The relationship itself was fraught from the beginning. It felt like I was constantly coping. It felt like I was constantly trying to make it work in spite of itself. And I just didn't know what I was doing with my life. I didn't understand what things cost. I didn't understand like how to run my life or my career. And truthfully, I had no idea what my channel was worth. I should have been making way more money based on what I've learned since then from actually being around like industry people. Like, with the amount of views I was getting, I could have had sponsor deals all the time. I could have been making, like, literally 5 times what I was making. And yeah, my Patreon was decently successful. But again, if I had been doing all the stuff that other YouTubers are doing, I would have been actually, like, rich. I would have been making well over 6 figures, you know. Biggest year I ever had, 2018, I made $75,000, which is not bad at all. But, you know, it wasn't nearly what it could have been. I could have been making like 300, 400,000 at that time. Did not know that. I did not know anything about running a career. So when you say that, like, my biggest concern was trying to make money and also trying to do, like, you know, stuff that I found creatively fulfilling, the real bigger issue, like, that's what I thought my biggest issue was. It was not. The real bigger macro issue was I did not know how to run my career. I did not know how to organize collaborations. I thought if I just throw money at stuff, I can make it work. It didn't. I thought if I just move closer to the people I know, we'll be able to spend more time together. That was not the case. I did not know how to organize people. I didn't know how to organize my own, you know, expenditures. I just was throwing money around and making huge mistakes, like moving to Boston. I got talked into moving to Boston because a couple of my friends lived there, and I thought, okay, so what I'm going to do is get a big enough house that it can function like a studio, and I'll bring my friends over all the time, and we'll make shit together. The reality was I rented a big enough house I never owned a house, by the way. I don't know if that's something that this guy thinks. Like, I've never owned a house. I rented a house in Boston. It was $2,300 a month for rent, which is preposterously high. It was like 2/3 of my income, and my income was going down when we moved in. Like, I was making less than I had been before the move, because in the process of moving, I went like 2 months without really posting and lost a shitload of patrons in the meantime. So my money took a hit that it never recovered from. I moved to Boston, and then my ex-partner, like, literally, like, mentally crashed in, like, you know, had to be taken to a mental hospital for a week, and it was this whole ordeal. And then it was like, for months, it felt like I was trying to help her out of that, you know, like, try to make our life work again, while also trying to solve the career problems. And it was just constant stress for the whole second half of 2018 was nonstop stress. And then the start of 2019, I was still in that position. But there was one night that me and her reacted to the Crunchyroll Awards. And it was like we got really shit-faced drunk, you know, watching this show, doing it live, and commentating on it. And I was, like, you know, performatively upset that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5 had won Best Character Designs, because I thought other shows deserved it, and I didn't like the way the first episode looked in the first half. So I made this short clip where I'm just, like, drunkenly screaming about how this shit is garbaggio, and the characters don't even look like they belong to the world they're in, and I posted it up. And I woke up the next day, and that clip had gotten, like, shockingly, like, semi-viral. Like, a lot of people saw it and were really mad. And they were all, like, you know, just really saying very, like, mean stuff for no reason. Like, people didn't get the joke, in part because the live stream from the previous night had been taken down for copyright reasons. So I woke up the next morning and I'm hungover. I've got a copyright problem. I'm being made fun of for what was supposed to be a joke video, but people don't see the humor in it. They're really laying in on me. And that morning I found out that, like, a young YouTuber had committed suicide. And that really hit with me. Anytime somebody who's in a field close to mine is lost, I always feel something about it. So I was having a real depressing morning that morning. So I got on camera and I filmed this video, and it was snowing outside, so I framed it in this way where it's like I'm in shadows and there's snow behind me, and I'm pretty sure I'm, like, wearing sunglasses and have a giant beard. So whatever emotions I was feeling, you can't see them, you know? And I was overweight at the time. I was depressed. I looked like shit, and I just was like, look, my life is falling apart. Making that video actually netted me like $2,000 overnight, because a lot of people felt sympathy for me. A lot of people thought like this was a real situation I was going through, and my Patreon jumped up quite a bit. I got a bunch of one-time donations, and that sincerely helped create a windfall. And I ended up moving out of Boston like a couple months later and started trying to get things back on track. But after leaving Boston, I realized that the problems in my life were not just financial. They were with my relationship. They were with my self-image. They were with the way I was treating myself. And basically, I just got really depressed. Like, the later half of 2019, and especially the early months of 2020, I was, like, gone with depression. Like, basically, laying on the ground, like, listening to drone. Like, I would put my ex in front of the TV and, like, leave her watching The Ralph Retort. And then I would go into my room to work, and then I would, like, lay on the floor and wonder what I'm doing with my life for an hour. So, like, this was the most depressing part of my life so far, is 2019, 2020, where I was just like, theoretically, I have all the things I'm supposed to want, but none of it matters to me. I felt like I wasn't making enough money to do what I really wanted to do, but I also didn't think I really wanted to do anything. Like, I didn't know what am I working for? What is the end goal here? I felt like my mind was deteriorating and my relationship was deteriorating, and I just had, like, no sense of purpose, basically. So, when this guy says, I wonder how he'd react if I commented he'd saying he unironically looked happier there, I say, I don't believe you. You're full of shit. You're projecting. You're insane. You don't know what happiness looks like. One of the most common comments I've gotten over the last 4 or 5 years has been, you look so much happier now. I get that comment all the time. I get that comment from people in my personal life. I get that comment, on YouTube videos, in real life, all over the place. People tell me, you used to seem miserable. You used to seem angry. Now you seem happy. Now you seem relaxed. Now you seem chill. So for you to say, oh, I thought you looked happier when you were blocking out your eyes, blocking out the visibility of your face, and literally talking about how unhappy you are, versus now, where you can look right into my eyes and see me tell you straight up, I'm the happiest I've ever been right now. I just think you are insane if you think that I was happier then. You are just simply incapable of recognizing happiness, which is genuinely depressing. Now, deconstructing the next part of this, snowed in at a giant house with his friends. What giant house? It was a normal 2-story house. It was the same size as the house that I live in right now. And I had my ex, who, as I already established, it was a difficult relationship at the time. And one friend lived with me, my friend Tom. I barely ever saw anybody else. I had 2 other friends who lived in Boston, but they lived so far away in Boston and neither one of them had a car that we only ever organized seeing each other like 3 times the whole 8 months I lived there. I saw friends 3 times in 8 months of living in Boston. So, no, I was not in a giant house with friends all over the place. I was in a normal house that costed a fucking $1 billion with 2 friends. Now, I live in a house that is the same size, but I have my partner who I love, who is not difficult to deal with. I have my brother Shade and his partner live in the house. And I have 2 other friends who I like who live in the house. So I see my friends all the time. I feel way more comfortable living here. And the house is the same fucking size. Moreover, this house has central heating and air, which the Boston house didn't. That house was either 1 billion fucking degrees or 0 fucking degrees outside of the 2 rooms that had wall-mounted air conditioning units in them. That house sucked. That house was a miserable fucking time. It was a big waste of money. It was the worst career move I ever made, the worst life move I've ever made. That house represents all of the worst decisions I've ever made. We're in that Boston house. This house, between Bird and I, costs us $700 a month to live in. The cost of living is split between the 6 people who live here, and the house is owned by my brother and his wife. Not the ones who live here, but the other ones who moved to Richmond. So I have easy to deal with landlord. I have easy to pay. It's easy to make payment. That's inclusive of utilities, by the way. That's $700 a month. So, like, this is such a better situation. It's actually insane. It is way better. I don't have to constantly, like, mentally babysit my partner. I actually have the space to do the things I want with my career. I, like, literally am doing whatever the fuck I want right now. It's a way better situation. Facing backlash for anime opinions while hating his life, now pretending to be the wife who left him. I don't act anything at all like my ex. I actually don't really remember her that well. It's been 6 fucking years. But, like, I'm not pretending to be her. We are nothing the fuck alike. She has a totally different life, totally different lifestyle, different beliefs, different aesthetics. I'm nothing like her. I am not pretending to be the wife who left me. Also, we were never married. So, like, I don't know why you're falling for this. Like, I probably was calling her my wife the same way I call Bird my husband. I've never been married. It's just for the internet. It's just for the sake of the you know, it's a joke. It's a funny way to refer to your partner. Like, you people are so goofy. But yeah, my biggest worries being I want to push the boundaries creatively, but also have to make money. That is still my biggest worry. That is still the hardest thing about my life. Back then, I made more money, but I also spent way more money. I got my costs down, and now I do get to experiment creatively because I don't need that much money. I don't need fucking $4,000 or whatever a month to afford to live because my house doesn't cost $2,300. I'm not paying for everything my partner does because my partner has their own job. You know, like, it used to be that my partner was, like, trying to work for me but not doing anything of value, and like, it was constant negotiation on what was she going to do. Like, I am in a situation now where I don't have to bust my ass. I have people around. I have help. I don't need to, like, constantly worry about, is this video going to make enough money? Is this video going to get enough views for me to make more money? I'm not worried about that. I make enough. So now I seem emaciated, apparently, even though I'm like a normal, healthy weight for my height. I have never been underweight in my life. I weigh like 145 probably right now. I was actually maintaining like a pretty good figure for a little while of like 135 when I work out. I'm way stronger than I used to be. Like, I can lift significantly more than I could back in 2019. I can run, like, at all. I did not know. I could not run until post-transition. I had no physical acumen. I can do 7 pull-ups right now. Like, I am strong. I'm not emaciated. I am strong. And I'm normal weight for my height. Like, I used to be way overweight. Now I am normal weight. I am short, you know, so I still look relatively small. Strung out? Strung out is how you describe a heroin addict. Strung out is, like, I wouldn't be making fucking videos every day if I was strung out. Even when I was high all the time, I was not strung out. I have done so few non-weed drugs. Like, people act like I'm some kind of big-time drug user. And it's like, I smoked a lot of weed. Like, I've dabbled in other drugs. You know, I've done acid, I've done mushrooms, I have done coke, I have done Molly a couple times at parties with friends, you know? Like, I never became a drug addict outside of weed and alcohol. And I've been an alcoholic since I was 22, you know? Like, that has never changed. So I've always been drinking. I smoked for a solid 7 or so years, and I, dabbled in other drugs along the way, but never like to a serious degree. I used to smoke cigarettes. Sometimes I might have a cigarette. I think I actually was smoking a lot of cigarettes back in 2019 as well. So yeah. Anyway, I'm emaciated, strung out, and taking it up the ass, which apparently is a big crime now. Apparently taking it up the ass is something to regret or whatever. Never mind that it feels good and, everybody who does it likes it. It's not something you do on accident. The only successful thing in life, my YouTube channel, is dead. I mean, you could call it that in the sense that it's not as thriving as it once was, but again, I still make money off of my YouTube channel. I still make like $500 a month from just memberships and super chats, and then like $300 a month from Patreon. So I make a solid $800 a month. It's been perfectly fine for me. Like, I am not behind on payments or anything. I get to go out pretty often. My partner makes a pretty good amount of money, so it's not like between the two of us we are struggling. Like, we're doing fine. I'd like to make more money. I'd like to start paying off certain debts. I'd like to take care of some of the health problems that I'm developing as I get older, It would be cool to have insurance, but I'm not struggling. I'm not hurting, like, I'm enjoying myself. I like making YouTube videos because it's fun to do, and it's kind of a lifestyle for me. When you say, I had a group of friends in the Procrastinators podcast, guys, like, I have a new group of friends. You can find them very easily. Go to my link tree. You'll find links to like 12 YouTubers that I'm friends with. I have an entire Discord community of people I'm friends with. I see these people just as often as I saw the PCP people, like, in real life, which was to say very rarely, because I very rarely ever saw those guys in real life. Most of what we did was bitch about other people. Like, the vast majority of conversations I ever had with the PCP was us complaining about other YouTubers being shit and bigging ourselves up as, oh, we're the cool ones and they all suck, I'm over that. That's not the way I talk to people anymore. That's not the kind of conversations I have. I talk about how good things are now. I talk about things I like with people I like. That is generally my modus. I don't try to involve every friend I have in YouTube because it's not, like, always healthy. I don't think that our relationships as the PCP being so public was good for our relationships. It actually really badly damaged several, like, there are people in the PCP who I still respect and like as people. Our relationships were damaged by having them public and by, connecting money into what we were doing. And, there's a couple of those people I probably won't ever speak to again because of how badly those relationships were damaged. It's not healthy to have all your friendships be public. It's healthy to have normal friendships. And, when it comes to going down the gender ideology rabbit hole, I mean, my politics have not changed very much over time. I've pretty much been saying the same shit. Transition was just a way to make myself healthier. That was it. It was just like, I can't feel compelled towards health as a concern if I don't understand what is the end goal of it. My end goal was never to be like a masculine guy. It was always to be like a cute little twink. And I didn't know how to do that without being embarrassed about it. So I wouldn't do it. And then once I decided I'm just not going to be embarrassed about it, I'm just going to do what is healthy for me and fuck all the people who disagree with it. I'm doing it for myself. I got healthy. My life's been genuinely much better since then. And granted, it was a long road. because I started from a place of abject depression, of weed addiction, of in a bad relationship, of in a bad, place mentality. And then I undid all of that very slowly over the course of the next 5 years. It's this year that I'm healthy. This year. Not last year, not the year before, 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 not any of the years before. I was never healthy mentally until this year. This year, I quit weed. This year, I found myself in a stable home environment, in a stable relationship. This year, I have been doing the things I really love doing and want to do and enjoying myself every day and really not having that much stress. This year. So, no, I was not happier in 2019, you fucking moron. I wasn't even happier last year than I am now. I'm the happiest ever now. And if you want to listen to me, actually listen, not make judgments from a distance, you can learn how to be happy like me. I have a whole series of vlogs on Trixie Takes the Square that is basically just a guide to how to sort your shit out. Here's all the lessons I learned. Here's all the stuff I needed to know that changed me from a miserable fuck back in 2019 to a happy person who feels stable today. It's just a guidebook on how I got out, basically. If you're not going to listen to it, you're not going to understand why things are so much better for me now. But, you can sit around in your cabal of dumbass, miserable fuckwits on this website and bitch about how things were better when you were a fucking child. But they weren't. You were just even dumber. So yes, I do think I am just happy now. That's generally what happiness is. Thinking you're happy. If you don't think you're happy, you're not happy. If you do think you're happy, chances are you're happy. That's generally how that works. The phrasing of "I'm sure he thinks he's happy now" is just really funny to me. Like, why would I think that if it wasn't true? That would be fucking ridiculous. If he was, though, he wouldn't be reading old comments for a dopamine hit. Well, you're right. I'm not doing that. I'm hitting like on every single old comment as an advertising strategy to let people know that I'm still making stuff and you can come watch the new stuff. It's better than the old stuff. It is legitimately coming from a better place. It's better content. I like life a lot more now than I did in 2019. Anyway, I really went in on this one because I see this sentiment a lot on this website of people like trying to find some way to convince themselves that I must be miserable because I transitioned. And like, I think most of these people, I'm not talking about this guy necessarily, but a lot of people in this thread are giving massive egg vibes, where they're people who, not even just trans egg, but like people who are obviously miserable and they are looking for like confirmation about why they're miserable. And so they're saying like, oh, well, I have to be miserable because if I tried to change, I would end up like this person. And look at what change did to them. It ruined their career. It scared away their wife. And it's like, I didn't want to have any of that. That stuff sucked. That stuff didn't help. Having a career and a wife and being miserable means career and wife aren't the answer. Something else is the answer. Self-care is the answer. If caring for yourself means you have to transition, if caring for yourself means you have to be with a partner who you actually love, then you need to make those changes. Anyway, I don't know why I'm trying to life coach somebody who's a miserable piece of shit, but it makes me sad when I see these people who clearly thought they were learning something from me at some point and then stopped listening when I started learning the actual important lessons and giving them forward. This is Comments on Comments. Send me any comments you think would be interesting to talk about on this channel. Check the description for links to the many other channels that I've got. And thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Comments forever.